Did they use you as a trophy?
Of course. I was the big fish. I was the big fish.
Do you think they would say that you used them?
Well, I think it was a mutual thing. You know, I took their money and they put me out in front of the cameras and told me what to say, and that's what I'd say.
Wow.
I took their money and they put me out in front of the cameras and told me what to say. That's what I'd say.
Wow. Give me an example of what you'd say.
We've gathered here today to pay homage to the children that are being aborted in this abortuary. We're doing this because abortion is wrong. And I, as the former Jane Roe of Roe versus Wade, do regret signing the affidavit for the pro-abortion camps. And that was probably about it.
It was all an act?
Yeah. I did it well, too. I am a good actress. Of course, I'm not acting now. I did it well, too.
That really hurts because, Jakes, it's big stakes. It's just really big stakes.
I had never heard her say anything like this. Never. But I knew what we were doing. And there were times I was sure she knew. And I wondered, is she playing us? What I didn't have the guts to say was, because I know damn well we're playing her. Because I know damn well we're playing her. Because I know damn well we're playing her. What we did with Norma was highly unethical. The jig is up, the jig is up, the jig is up.
Reproductive rights, the lies that keep on killing. This is how women are fighting against the Lord God.
WebMD. What is the meaning of reproductive rights? Medically reviewed by Neha Puddock, MD on August 24, 2023, written by Susan Bernstein. It means you have the power of the law to protect you and allow you the right to make your own choices about birth control, pregnancy, and having children. Abortion, including access to legal, safe procedures to end a pregnancy, is one reproductive right, but there are others. Sex education, family planning, birth control, contraception, including emergency contraception, assisted reproduction, sterilization, or permanent birth control. This includes
DW News, from Germany. Safer abortion in Africa. Eunice Brookman-Amsaya is a Ghanaian former Minister of Health and also served as an ambassador to the Kingdom of the Netherlands, in office 1996 to 1998, under the Rawlings government. She was the first female vice president of the Ghana Medical Association. In 2023, Brookman-Amsaya was named as one of 3 Right Livelihood Award laureates for her work on liberalizing abortion laws and promoting access to safe abortions in Africa.
We are the hidden hand, the Psalm 83 conspirators that are fulfilling our destiny, as prophesied by Isaac concerning Esau Edom in Genesis chapter 27, verses 37 to 40. The West, the Confederate European countries north of Africa, have been trying to get the youngest population on Earth, that is, Africa, to reduce its population for decades. With the help of other women on the continent like Eunice Brookman, we will further our endeavors to influence the destruction of Africa's future by using a multitude of eugenic abortion rhetoric, financial incentives that never reach the hands of the people but further our plan to reduce Africa's population, and if these methods don't work, we have further methods to employ.
And earlier we had a chance to catch up with Dr. Eunice Brookman on Mesa.
It's a great honor, and it's a very satisfying that the work of over 30 years or so has been so recognized. But most of all, I receive it on behalf of the many women that have lost their lives from a totally preventable cause, and hope that it will lead to a better understanding of the issues and to improving reproductive health services for women in the future.
Now, you've been doing this work for many, many years. Do women in Ghana now have access to safe abortion, or is there more to be done?
Well, yes and no. Ghana has one of the laws in the continent that allow for abortion for certain indications. And the Ministry of Health has, with support from my organization, developed guidelines for making this possible. There's still logistic issues that are there to be addressed. But in general, women in Ghana who qualify by the available law have access to safe abortion services.
Now, when you look back at the time when you began your journey, how controversial was it for you to talk about women's reproductive rights?
Oh my goodness, it was almost impossible. I mean, a word, as I call it, was not acceptable in any decent gathering. And but one had to do it. And sometimes people avoided me when I attended meetings and conferences. But I went time after time after time and pushed on. And eventually, I must say that everybody came around to understand, through the constant advocacy, values clarification, which helped people to see the issues quite apart from themselves and their own beliefs, and also sharing results of good practice from elsewhere. Women and men and governments and policymakers have all come around to understand that this is the only way to go, to review the restrictive laws and especially to make services available for women who need abortions, so they don't need to resort to unsafe abortions and die.
You describe a positive development there in Ghana, but are those attitudes, the old attitudes, still prevalent elsewhere in Africa today?
There are places where people still adhere to the old attitudes, especially on religious grounds. I would say mostly on religious grounds. But then we also have religious people, religious organizations, religious doctors, religious midwives who have seen that women need access to safe services, and therefore are willing and actually involved in providing services.
Dr. Eunice Brookman-Amisa there, one of the winners of this year's Livelihoods Awards. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And for the women on behalf of the women of Africa and the world.
One issue that really grabbed me as urgent were issues related to population, reproductive health.
But did you come to reproductive issues as an intellectual?
When I was growing up, my parents were always involved in various volunteer things. My dad was head of Planned Parenthood, and it was very controversial to be involved with that.
Planned Parenthood hails founder Margaret Sanger as a champion of civil rights. But one thing they don't talk about is the racism behind her fight to legalize abortion. A group of African American leaders want to focus attention on her ideology and how it affected black birth rates. Abigail Robertson has more on this story.
Margaret Sanger strived for a society that limited births to only those she deemed fit to have children.
Well, I think the greatest sin in the world is bringing children into the world that have disease from their parents, that have no chance in the world to be a human being, practically. Delinquents, prisoners, all sorts of things just marked when they're born. That, to me, is the greatest sin.
Many pro-choice advocates see her as a hero, but critics call her a racist eugenics promoter who targeted black communities with her Planned Parenthood clinics.
Margaret Sanger, the founder of Planned Parenthood, once said, colored people are like weeds, they need to be exterminated.
People don't understand that 79% of Planned Parenthood clinics are located in minority communities, and that minority communities shoulder a disproportionate amount of abortion.
Dr. King says while African Americans make up only 13% of the U.S. population, over 30% of aborted babies are from black mothers.
Under the veil of secrecy and deception, 60+ million babies have not been born because they were aborted legally since '73. 1/3 of that population belong to the African American community.
Planned Parenthood recently celebrated its 100th anniversary, prompting pro-life leaders to unite under the banner 100 No More to educate the public on the harmful impact Planned Parenthood has had on the African American community. 100 No More hope rallies like this one in Washington spread across the country to enlighten people about Sanger and her tragic legacy.
I have a real serious concern about the number of abortions that's taking place in the minority community, particularly the black community, and that I see this as a form of genocide, that is something we need to take a serious look at.
Planned Parenthood receives around $500 million each year from taxpayers.
96% of the time, if a pregnant woman walks into their clinic, that she will have an abortion. 96% of the time, if a pregnant woman walks into their clinic, that she will have an abortion. 96% of the time, if a pregnant woman walks into their clinic, that she will have an abortion.
Planned Parenthood of Greater New York is removing the name of pioneering birth control advocate Margaret Sanger from its clinic in Lower Manhattan. The group says that Sanger has long provoked controversy because of her support for eugenics, a movement to promote selective breeding that often targeted people of color and the disabled. Sanger was one of the founders of Planned Parenthood of America more than a century ago. The clinic on Bleecker Street in Soho will now be known as the Manhattan Health Center.
So let's talk about these so-called reproductive rights. Reproductive rights is nothing more than newspeak for abortion. Newspeak for abortion.
Harvard University, Harvard Health Publishing, Harvard Medical School. Abortion, termination of pregnancy. January 9, 2019. What is it? Abortion is the removal of pregnancy tissue, products of conception, or the fetus and placenta, after birth, from the uterus. In general, the terms fetus and placenta are used after 8 weeks of pregnancy. Pregnancy tissue and products of conception refer to tissue produced by the union of an egg and sperm before 8 weeks. Other terms for an abortion include elective abortion, induced abortion, termination of pregnancy, and therapeutic abortion.
Reproductive rights or abortion is nothing more than murder. Nothing more than murder. It is nothing more than murder. We're going to take a look at what we're not supposed to do in accordance with the word of the Lord in Exodus chapter 20, verse 13. This is concerning of the 10 commandments. This is Exodus chapter 20, verse 13. Thou shalt not kill, and in this case, kill means murder. Shall not murder. We're going to find out what all that means. Okay, this is the law of the Most High regarding murder, which is not in self-defense. This is something that is not in self-defense. We're going to see the definition of the word kill in Exodus chapter 20 and 13. And we see it's the Hebrew word ratash. It means to murder, slay, kill. And we see at the bottom it says especially to murder, put to death, kill man, slay, slayer, murder, murderer. So kill in this regard means to murder. So when we look at the Cambridge University Dictionary definition of the word murder, we see that murder is the crime of intentionally killing a person. So the root word of intentionally is intend. Intend means to have as a plan or purpose. To have as a plan or purpose. In this case, to kill. Now, this is the law of the Most High regarding the judgment for murder, that which is not in self-defense. Leviticus chapter 24, verse 17. And he that killeth any man, this includes woman, children, that is, planned the murder of a man, shall surely be put to death. This is the judgment for murder. Have you noticed that the subject of, quote, of reproductive rights, or that which is abortion, is associated with women that are outside of marriage? Have you noticed that? You see, here's some billboards that have been put up, and you see who the target of this whole issue is. For some reason, the black woman is the target. All right, it reads, black women take care of their families by taking care of themselves. Abortion is self-care. This is ridiculous. And that's the organization that prompted this ad. And down below, we see that the state of California, the state I live in, is actually sponsoring this crap, this sin. All right, we won't even read that. We see that California says it is ready to help, and they're gonna face the consequences for that. All involved are gonna face the consequences for that. You see, this is what should happen. This is the green light. What you need to do in order to stop having abortions and so-called unwanted pregnancies is to only have sex for marriage, save sex for marriage. But there's too much filth out here and the destruction of the nuclear family. People don't want to do what is right. Even what is better for themselves, they won't even do. So plan your future, not your abortion. Over 85% of abortions are performed on unmarried women. You see that stat? And you can go ahead and learn more at abortionlessfuture.com. That's what you should do for all of you women. For anybody else that's supporting abortion, you need to go to that and look at that. Why? Because the Lord has offered his people, the Israelites, who are to be a light to the nations. The nations are those Gentiles and heathen. He offered us a choice for life or death, and you get to choose. So let's get into it. This is Deuteronomy chapter 30, verses 15 to 20. And it reads, 15, see, I have set before thee this day, this is the Lord saying this, life and good, and death and evil, in that I command thee this day, I command thee this day to love the Lord Yahweh thy power, to walk in his ways and to keep his commandments and his statutes and his judgments. That's what it means to love. to walk in his ways and to keep his commandments and his statutes and his judgments. It tells you right here in the scripture. You don't need a special book from a Christian pastor to figure this out. And they're never going to tell you because they are against the laws of the Most High. It goes on to read, that thou mayest live and multiply, and the Lord Yahweh thy power shall bless thee in the land whither thou goest to possess it. That is anywhere on the earth. That land is anywhere on the earth because we have been scattered all around the world. Verse 17. But if thine heart, your mind, turn away, so that thou wilt not hear, but shalt be drawn away by what? By all of this rhetoric and BS, and worship other gods, because when you kill your baby, it's like offering your baby up to the pagan god Moloch, and worship other gods and serve them. Verse 18, I denounce, this is what the Lord is saying, I denounce or announce or declare unto you this day that ye shall surely perish in his timing and within his purview, and that ye shall not prolong your days upon the land, that is, upon the earth, whither thou passest over Jordan to go to possess it. I call heaven and earth to record this day against you, that I, the Lord Yahweh, by Hashem Yahushai, have set before you life and death, blessing and cursing. Therefore choose life. You see that? That both thou, you, and thy seed, your children, may live, that thou mayest love the Lord Yahweh by Hashem Yahushua, thy power, and that thou mayest obey his voice, and that thou mayest cleave unto him, not unto Esau's rhetoric, telling you to kill your babies. For he is thy life and the length of thy days. He determines the length of your days. He determines whether you have life or not. That thou mayest dwell in the land or on the earth which the Lord Yahweh by Hashem Yahushai swear unto thy fathers, to Abraham, to Isaac, to Jacob, to give them. So let's do a little summary of this here. What does it mean to have life, to choose life and good? It means to love the Lord Yahweh by Hashem Yahushai, thy power, to walk in his ways, and to keep his commandments and his statutes and his judgments. It also means to live and multiply, not live and destroy, so that the Lord Yahweh, thy power, will bless thee. Otherwise, you're going to get this, death and evil. If your heart or mind turns away, so that thou wilt not hear, but shalt be drawn away and worship other gods and serve them. You see, Esau, Edom is your God. You do what he tells you to do, but you won't do what the Lord tells you to do. Be denounced, meaning you're going to be announced or declared so that you surely perish and not prolong your days upon the land or upon the earth. The Lord can decide to keep you here as long as he wants, but when that end comes, you're going to be judged. And then there's a second judgment in the lake that burneth with fire. So let's see what was done in the past by our people. And this is what you should be doing. All you women in Israel, you so-called blacks, Latinos, Hispanic, Native Americans, this is what you need to be doing. Exodus 1:15-22. And the king of Egypt spake unto the Hebrew midwives, of which the name of one was Shiphrah, and the name of the other Puah. And he said, when ye do the office of a midwife to the Hebrew women, and see them upon the stools, if it be a son, then ye shall kill him or murder him. But if it be a daughter, then she shall live. You see what the king of Egypt was trying to do? This is abortion in the Bible. This is murder by abortion in the Bible. Exodus 1:17. But the midwives feared the Most High and did not as the king of Egypt commanded them, liken this unto Esau, Edom today, but saved the men children alive. And the king of Egypt called for the midwives and said unto them, why have ye done this thing and have saved the men children alive? And we're going to see why the women did it. And this is the smart move to make. This is the smart decision to make. This is the only decision you should be making. Exodus 1:19. And the midwife said unto Pharaoh, because the Hebrew women are not as the Egyptian women, not as the heathen Gentile women, for they are live. That is, they're bearing quickly and easily, and are delivered ere the midwives come in unto them. They lied and said they delivered before they got there. Verse 20. Therefore, the Most High dwelt well with the midwives, and the people multiplied and waxed very mighty. That's the only way you're going to be a mighty people, when the Lord decides to redeem his people. Exodus 1 verse 21. And it came to pass, because the midwives feared the Most High, that he made them houses. And Pharaoh charged all his people, saying, every son that is born ye shall cast into the river, and every daughter ye shall save alive. And see, this is what he said, hey, if the people will do it, we're going to do it all around the world. So you have been warned. You have been warned. All praises to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai.